to use disconnect strats in a record was Shockwave TLS, who lowered the time down to 7:35. As you'd expect, he gained time on golf, despite his initial disconnect shot on hole 5 being mistimed. It helped when he hit this shot on hole 4. However, Shockwave is from the UK, and he wasn't able to import a copy of 1.00 from overseas, so he lost time in baseball. Next up was Sphere Cube again, who lowered the record 9 days later with a 7:32. He had switched to 1.00, so he saved the time in baseball, but he didn't use disconnect strats. Yeah, especially in the early days of disconnect strats, even some top-level runners found it too difficult to go for, since it wasn't technically needed for the record. About a month later, Shockwave took it a couple seconds lower. But still, he was playing on 1.01. A few months after that, Sphere Cube took it back, while still not using disconnect strats. Nobody was willing to string it all together. But in the summer of 2021, Shockwave would finally get a copy of 1.00. A top runner now had all 3 pieces of the puzzle: 1.00, a willingness to do disconnect strats, and a lot of skill. They all combined for a 7:28, a new record just 1 day after Sphere Cube's 7:30. This world record really had a lot going into it. You've got bunting for outs, bunting for hits, aiming for strikes, driver chips, disconnect strats, and much more. Shockwave implemented all of them, and the end result was a 7:28. Was there any time save left? Well, there were seconds here and there. His batting was near perfect, but while pitching, he accidentally threw an immaculate inning. 3 strikeouts, which we know from before are slow. There was room to save about 15 seconds there. His bowling was perfect, 9 strikes, so no time to save there. For golf, he missed a putt on hole 6, and his boxing could have been a bit better too. So sub-7 was definitely possible, but the problems of before still remained. It required perfection from all 5 sports, and that just wasn't realistic. But that didn't mean people couldn't try. By September, another contender showed up to play, Emoad Nomad. And over the next few months, these guys were going to engage in a battle, both against each other and against the sub-7 barrier. Shockwave would strike first, with a massive 7-second cut of the record. He had time to save on pitching and on hole 6, so he gained 12 collective seconds there, but lost a few seconds while batting thanks to a foul ball. A few weeks later, he'd take it down to 7:18, and Nomad was right behind him with a 7:21. Nomad would then have a run a few seconds ahead of the record, but needed a miracle shot on hole 4 to keep it going. Back to the drawing board. On October 11th, Shockwave got a 7:16. Nomad followed up shortly after with a 7:17, a run that came just 24 hours too late to be a record. On the 15th, Shockwave had a run that lost time early to batting, but had an extraordinary